The Mexican drug cartel 完全发疯了 because not only have they declared war on the US government, they've already started shooting.
Everybody going down.
In light of recent events, the question that is on everyone's mind is, will the Mexican government actually help the US government, or will they do everything they can to stand in their way? Because what it might come down to is the US government taking out Mexican citizens on Mexican soil. And like we said late last year, the next great American war just might be south of the border against their long-standing neighbor. So, 爆米花一瓶酒, you know what it is, 代志大条. Dude, 最近美国每天越夸张越疯狂耶. Every day you turn on the news and this 报告比上一次的报告还夸张. And lately, Trump seems to be pissing off everybody, from political parties to even countries across the globe.
I don't really care about offending people.
But there's only one group who dare to do anything about it. They brought hot iron in response. The drug cartels.
The cartels have engaged in a campaign of violence and terror throughout the Western Hemisphere that has not only destabilized countries with significant importance for our national interests, but also flooded the United States with deadly drugs. Violent criminals and vicious gangs, the cartels functionally control through a campaign of assassination, terror, rape, and brute force nearly all illegal traffic across the southern border of the United States. In certain portions of Mexico, they function as quasi-governmental entities, controlling nearly all aspects of society. The cartel's activities threaten the safety of the American people, the security of the United States, and the stability of the international order in the Western Hemisphere. Their activities, proximity to, and incursions into the physical territory of the United States pose an unacceptable national security risk to the United States.
Now, after Trump signed this executive order, he pissed off not only the cartels, but the president of Mexico. Because basically what he is saying is that the Mexican government and the drug cartels are one and the same. But like, bro, isn't that like an open secret?
Did you see the memo about this?
In Tijuana alone, there are 3 cartels fighting for power. The Sinaloa cartel, Jalisco New Generation, and the Tijuana cartel. Although there are many other cartels in Mexico, these 3, plus another known as the Gulf Cartel, are the most powerful in the country.
There is an estimation of the Sinaloa cartel that there's like 100,000 members. That's a fucking army. Because the cartel has so much power, they're like, you know what? Not only are we taking over this entire town, if you're in the military that was part of this operation, we're going after your family. I think like 29 people were killed. They took hostages. They were burning down like army barracks and stuff in the area. And the president of Mexico, he said, surely the capture of one drug smuggler could not be more valuable than the lives of innocent civilians. Like, that's the official policy of the state.
Dude, it is not an exaggeration. From human trafficking to human smuggling to drug smuggling and everything in between. At the head of it, the one completely controlled the border, is the Mexican drug cartel. And almost every single Mexican politician from the 市长 to the 总统, if they even dare to speak out or even think about taking action, they will suffer the ultimate consequence.
A wave of murders targeting political candidates sweeping across Mexico as the country prepares for the upcoming June 2nd election. Over the weekend, 2 candidates running for mayor found dead. This year alone, 17 candidates have been killed as the country prepares to cast ballots for more than 20,000 positions at local, state, and national level. Gisela Gaitan was killed in broad daylight while campaigning for mayor of the city of Celaya in Guanajuato.
So as you can see, these fools will not hesitate to drop a body, or 2, or 3, or 4. But that begs the question, what about US politicians?
Another message to the criminal cartels in Mexico. You smuggle enough fentanyl across this country to kill 148,000 young Americans. You have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. And that's when President Trump gets back in office. He's going to designate you a terrorist organization, and he's going to wipe you off the face of the earth. You're done. You're done.
Now, with my man saying this loud and proud on television in front of the entire world to hear, the next question is, how long can this fool last before the cartel actually get at him?
On February 1st, 2025, the El Paso Sector Intelligence and Operations Center, EPT-IOC, received information advising that Mexican cartel leaders have authorized the deployment of drones equipped with explosives to be used against U.S. Border Patrol agents and U.S. military personnel currently working along along the border with Mexico.
Mexican drug cartels are targeting Border Patrol agents with kamikaze drones and other explosives amid the border crackdown. And the criminal organizations have authorized the deployment of suicide drones to target U.S. Border Patrol agents and U.S. military personnel. Social media posts from cartel-affiliated accounts are urging illegal migrants to kill ICE agents in order to cross over into the United States.
So, between the U.S. Border and Custom Patrol's memos and the news reported warnings, the cartels have made it official. And 其实他们已经开始动手了。
So this all comes as there were 2 reported cross-border shootings earlier this week, namely in Fronton, Texas. That's in the Rio Grande Valley sector, where Border Patrol actually exchanged gunfire with suspected cartel members. That video that you're looking at, that's the Mexican military response after the incident took place.
So you can see the cartels are not fucking around. And although so far they haven't injured any ICE agents, it's only a matter of time before things escalate to the next level.
The Defense Department has been helping on the border for decades. Just not at the level that President Trump has charged us with right now. Because we believe, and he believes, that border security is national security.
And now with fuckboy DOD on the scene, the US government has not only authorized troops to go down to the border, but they've even got military-grade aircrafts, from Air Force RC-135s to Navy P-8 Poseidons, and even U-2 spy planes.
There are reports that the cartels plan to attack Border Patrol agents with suicide drones. How are you going to fight that?
Well, look, I've said for a while that the cartels aren't going to take this lightly. When we secure the border, we're taking billions of dollars out of their pockets, right? Because they're making record amounts of money in alien smuggling, sex trafficking, women and children, and drugs. So they're not going to go away, quietly. They're going to fight this thing. So, we're going to take them on. Luckily, we got the military on the border now. Border Patrol agents are well aware of the threats. There will be violence, and it's something we're prepared to handle. But I warn you to the cartels: if they harm a Border Patrol agent, one of our soldiers, President Trump will not hesitate to take extreme action. I think President Trump would wipe them off the face of the earth, just like he did ISIS and the Caliphate. So I would think the cartels would pay attention. We have a strong president who's not going to take it.
Shit, I think Tom needs more security around his own personal border, because he's walking around with a huge-ass target on his back. And thanks to the previous administration's border policy, or lack thereof, I think when you open your phone in the next couple of days, you're gonna see some really brutal shit going down. Ultimately, leading to Trump sending troops into Mexico. But even with everything that's gone down in the past couple of days, the one group of people who might stand in his way could be the Mexican government themselves. Because once you understand the background of the newest Mexican president, and even the ones that came before her, you will truly believe that shit is really 大鸡大屌. So up until recently, the entire news cycle has been dominated by one very big T word, and it ain't Trump. Tariffs, as Trump set his sights on Canada and Mexico, with China as an honorable mention. And then a day later, he changed his mind as the 3 countries reached an agreement.
President Trump and Xi Jinping are due to have talks later in the week. Now, this all comes as Donald Trump has delayed the imposition of tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days. The leaders of both countries have agreed to strengthen border controls to clamp down on migration and drug trafficking into the US. The first announcement came from Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, who said she'd agreed to reinforce Mexico's northern border with 10,000 additional troops to help them stem drug smuggling. And then we had a phone call, a couple of them actually, between Mr. Trump and Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, agreeing to reinforce his country's border with the US to clamp down on migration and the flow of fentanyl.
And after this, a lot of folks online got their fingers to the detracting, claiming that Biden was the one who pinned this deal way back in December.
Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey.
And here's the thing. It's kinda true.
On his first presidential trip to Canada, President Biden met with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the duo announced a northern border deal to address the growing number of migrants crossing from the U.S. into Canada. In 2022, Canada saw some 40,000 crossings at unofficial points of entry, the highest number in 5 years. The deal allows Canada to turn away people at irregular entry points like Roxham and send them back to the United States.
So as you can see, yeah, Biden and Trudeau Trudeau did make a deal about 2 years ago, but it was very clearly more about America keeping its shit together at the border than it was about Canada. And this $1.3 billion budgeted plan was set to be implemented over the course of several years. And that is where the truth ends. But the moment Trump got in office, he realized all too quick that an implementation could be very subject to fuckery, which is why he went ahead with the threat of tariffs and then ultimately forced both sides to commit boots on the ground right now. And this part was not part of the Biden agreement. So with Trump using tariffs as leverage to commit both of his neighbors to putting skin in the game, that leaves a very important question.
We categorically reject the White House's slander against the Mexican government of having alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any intention of intervention in our territory. If such an alliance exists anywhere, it is in the United States armories that sell high-powered weapons to these criminal groups, as demonstrated by the United States Department of Justice itself in January of this year. In 4 months, our government has seized more than 40 tons of drugs, including 20 million doses of fentanyl. It has also arrested more than 10,000 people linked to these groups. If the United States government and its agencies wanted to address the serious consumption of fentanyl in their country, they could, for example, combat the sale of narcotics on the streets of their main cities, which they do not do, and the money laundering generated by this illegal activity that has done so much harm to their population.
Yeah, that makes her sound all great and mighty, but here's the thing. Both her predecessor and the one that came before him have both been accused of being in the cartel's pocket, with the DEA and El Chapo's right-hand man bringing receipts.
Stunning testimony in Brooklyn federal court at the trial of accused Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. A former close aide, personal aide, Alex Cifuentes, claims that Guzman boasted about paying a $100 million bribe to the former president of Mexico.
When it comes to Mexico and Canada, well, they both share one very unique characteristic. They are left-wing as fuck. Oh, and they also seem to be very tolerant of drugs.
We're in East Harlem. We're heading to one of the first legally sanctioned safe injection sites in the U.S. So people can bring their drugs here and the staff will make sure that they don't overdose.
Unlike the U.S., sanctioned safe drug consumption has existed in Canada since 2003. But these sites don't provide people with an alternative to toxic street drugs.
However, in the case of Mexico, they are taking the word tolerance to an all-new level of fuckery.
Lopez Obrador's bare-knuckle brawls with the press are in sharp contrast to the softer approach he's taken with drug cartels. He dissolved the federal police and created a national guard to take over public security. The president calls his approach hugs, not bullets.
How is that working out for Mexico?
Muy bien. Very well.
Why you always lying?
So, where California has 林远购, in Mexico, they got hugs for the cartel. Thus, the reason why Trump is G as fuck to get Canada and Mexico to get down to business right now. Because although Mexico's newest president seems to be moving away from it, she hasn't really come out and said anything against her predecessor's hugs, not bullets policy. And if you were Trump, would you trust her to follow through? Now you might think, 说了，你只在讲你的观点而已啊，那只是你的 opinion 呢。好吧。Why don't you hear the words from someone who not only grew up in Mexico, did business in Mexico, but was also involved in the Mexican government?
When I'm talking to people, you know, as you guys know, 80% of my family's in Mexico. My dad lives in Mexico. Basically, what they're going through is they've had so many years of corruption. At the voting booth, they'll do a care package, rice, soap, food, beans, and say,
You're serious?
Oh yeah, of course, you can look it up. So they'll literally be at the voting booth, you give them a care package and they're switching their vote. Matter of fact, when the cartels want somebody voted in, they'll do the same thing. This is on behalf of so-and-so. Obviously it's funded through them.
So as you can see, in Mexico, 你要当选的话，你要给the cartel 有一点帮忙哦。
This is a party that the cartels want because they're light on crime. Ironically, the cartels support not so much communism more than somebody's gonna leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And so they're leaving them alone.
Wow.
That's what it comes down to. That's where we're at with them. Because you're just talking about people that are running for mayor, running for Congress. If they don't like them, they just out their ass. And nobody's going to talk about it because if you open your mouth, you're dead. Matter of fact, if crime happens in Mexico, you're better off not calling the cops.
Dude, I don't know 哪个行业的风险比较大, being a member of the cartel or being a politician. Mexico's most recent presidential election was its bloodiest in its entire history, with over 38 assassinations.
First of all, her family got here in the 1920s, but they got here in the 1920s. They're Jewish, and her parents were a communist, open communists that actually fought hard in the rebellion, and they were involved in the scandal with the papers in Panama. So it's not like they're lightweights just oh, let's just voice our opinion. No, they're hardcore, and they raised her with these hardcore communist values. And so on top of that, she's a feminist. She's just an older version of an AOC.
And although there has been zero evidence thus far to suggest that this president has any connections to the cartel, let's just say her history makes her seem a bit sus.
Sobre los decretos, porque es importante referirse a los decretos que firmó ayer el presidente Donald Trump, quisiera mencionar lo siguiente. Al primero, que tenga la certeza el pueblo de México que siempre vamos a defender nuestra soberanía y nuestra independencia. Ellos pueden actuar en su territorio, en su marco de actuación y de su constitución. Nosotros lo que decimos es la defensa de nuestra soberanía y nuestra independencia.
That sounds vaguely like a threat.
Now, it ain't no secret that Claudia ain't a big fan of Trump. I mean, an old white man who decides that he wants to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and then demanding that she deal with the cartels, which ultimately would endanger her life. And it's only a matter of time before the cartels take out at least one ICE agent, leading to the US government ultimately releasing a bout of fiery fury that the world has never seen before. Well, except for with Afghanistan and Iraq and Yemen and every other country. But this time it's her neighbor. So the ultimate question is, will she help or will she stand in his way? What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Remember to like, subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace!